And we are live on the Icecast Live. Welcome, everybody, and good evening to my co-host, Mr. Ollie McManee. How you doing, Ollie?
I'm all right. Howdy doody to you as well, Shane.
Thank you. And you're looking like you've got a different background today. You're
in a different
place.
My partner, she's gone upstairs early, and my daughter's gone to a youth club. And I really couldn't be bothered sitting in that cold room like I told you about last week.
Yeah,
so I'm cold. In the warmer of the two rooms now, the living room. So yeah, a bit of a change of scenery.
You look cozy, mate. You look like you're.
I am. Relaxed. I've got a mesh blanket. I've got a blanket underneath me to keep me even warmer. So from the neck up, it's all business. But from down below, I'm cozy and comfy, like your nan.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Yeah, that's what you got to be like at this time of night now, yeah. Especially when you can't afford to put the heating on anymore.
Oh, the heating's on now because it is that bloody cold. But last week it wasn't cold enough.
Oh yeah, yeah.
A nice hot cup of tea for internal heating.
That's the way. That's the way to do it, mate. That's the way. So tonight I'm going to get straight into it because we've got a few guests tonight, and we're talking about a really exciting book that sort of it's been bubbling there in the internet for a while. We've seen the logo, we've seen the marketing, and it all looks really cool. But we'd like to know a little bit more about it, wouldn't we?
A lot more about it. We've got an hour.
We've got an hour, and it's called Pandora. And it's brought to us from the same publisher as the 77, but the creative team have got a voice all of their own, and we're going to meet them tonight. We've got some great guests. We've got Mr. Andrew Richmond, we've got Jo Heeley, and we've got Anna Morozova. And I hope I said that right, Anna. Correct me if I didn't. Who is our surprise guest tonight, because I wasn't sure if she was coming on until right at the last minute, but I'm really pleased that she could join us.
So there's nothing better than a surprise guest.
Yeah, it's great, except for when it's somebody you don't want to talk to. Yeah.
I'll like get off now then, shall I?
Like when Sam's son is a surprise guest and just like, bombards us with like
and asks the best question of the night.
Yeah, that's it. Right then, Sam, while you're there, can you put that VT on and we'll get going with the show? Welcome back to the Icecast Live, and welcome to our guests, Mr. Andrew Richmond, Jo Heeley, and Anna Morozova. How you doing, guys?
Oh, good.
Now, did I say your name right, Anna?
Yes, it's all fine. It's all
good. That was a pause. Yes, that was.
yeah. It's like
years of saying, okay.
Yeah. There is another pronunciation, but don't worry about it. I don't want to overlook it.
Oh no, I'm intrigued actually. Go on, hit us with it. Hit us with it, Anna.
Carry on. Morozova. So it's very strong R, and it's the second O which is stressing. But for English speakers, it's easier to say Morozova, and I'm so used to it by now. So
well,
we're going to be calling you Anna all night long anyway.
Yeah, we probably won't attempt it again. So we've got three of you on from Pandora, and we're really excited about it because this book looks so cool. I've backed it myself on Kickstarter, and it is on Kickstarter. And Jo, I understand that it has busted its target already.
It has, and unbelievably so. I know you made a reference to the heating earlier in your intro to the Icecast, but given that we're in such uncertain times, given that, people are going to be hit with quite some significant changes to their finances tomorrow. We hit target, and I'd just like to say thank you to all the backers. Thank you for believing in us, and quite a lot. What I've discovered is that there's quite a lot of new backers to this that we haven't seen back in the 77 before. We expected people, obviously we've got our regular people who buy everything 77 related, but certainly, yeah, it's I think it's testament to the creators that we've got involved in this, and I just hope that my choices aren't too eclectic, and have, you know, when it lands on mats, they're not like, what is this? But no, I'm really proud, really grateful, and thank you everyone who's backed us.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I mean, you're in safe hands, because Mr. Richmond here, now he knows how to make a book look great. Even
Oh,
if you've got
absolutely.
really, you know, even if the creators are, you know, lots of different styles going on, he makes it work. And he's done that lots and lots of times. And were there any challenges on this one though, Andy, in that arena, sort of making it all work as one book?
No, I mean, what happened is when we originally conceptualized it, it was going to be more of a sister title to Blazer.
Right.
So it was going to be, you know, like a Misty Bunty sort of thing. But it evolved from that. But we sort of nailed that logo, the yellow and the purple.
It's nice.
Pretty much early doors, with a sort of a nod to the 70s, but trying to make it look a little bit contemporary. So it's just a fascinating thing when I started to talk to Jo about it. It was over a year ago.
Wow.
Well, I approached Andy. We in the 77 editorial, because I'm obviously one of the directors there, we talked about branching out and potentially looking at a homage to Misty, to Tammy, to all those comics of the 70s and 80s. I was blown away by Andy's involvement on Blazer, and certainly those front covers to Blazer were just amazing.
Yeah.
And I asked Andy if he would. Obviously, Andy was really keen to be a creator on it. And initially, I think we were talking about potentially having Andy illustrate a self-written script.
Yeah.
I also really wanted him on art editor duties, because as a graphic designer, Andy, you've just got to say one thing and he's just like off he trots, and he comes back with this fantastic everything that I want.
Yeah.
The colours just should just add, the purple is a I don't know whether anybody's picked up on it or whether it's been obliquely, noticed. But the purple is a nod to suffragettes. So you will see throughout the comic the use of green, purple, and obviously white. Those are the colours. Obviously, as a female editor of an anthology, I wouldn't say that I'm the only one out there at all. There is a lot of women in comics, and fantastic, and long may it continue. But perhaps somebody taking on an editorial role like this is a little bit different, and it's certainly different for the 77. So yeah, wanted to certainly establish those
and it's brilliant how, because you've done that, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but do you feel that is part of the reason why you're bringing in different readers, new readers, because you're hitting new demographics, like more female readers, maybe readers for different age group as well, perhaps? Absolutely.
And I think as well, with the art that's already got out there, I mean, Anna's art's absolutely stunning. And just to throw that out there, we've got Alan Hebden on script duties for that. That was a blessing. That was, somebody was looking down on me that day. But yeah, I think it certainly, what I really wanted to do was create a comic that was thoughtful, as well as giving people that thrill. I absolutely love ghost stories. I love horror genres. Shane, your project at the moment with Hedrick, absolutely love that kind of thing. I wanted something that sort of encapsulated that, but I also love sci-fi as well.
Right.
Put my head above the parapet. I'm an absolute sci-fi nerd. As much as I've denied it to my partner for years.
It's like reluctantly admitting that I'm enjoying Star Trek as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely love Star Trek, but yeah, it's something that I sort of like kept. It's like with most. I don't know whether you guys have ever discovered this, but when you've got a like for something that's sometimes a bit niche, sometimes a bit geeky, if you talk about it to people who don't necessarily like that kind of thing, and I always say it's the kind of people who maybe find Miranda funny, or people who watch certain like Midsummer Murders, that type of thing. When you talk about that, they just look at you a bit funny, so you just keep it quiet. You keep it on the down low. So yeah,
I can't keep anything quiet, Jo. So I quite happily just shout about my geekness to anyone who's willing to listen or not willing to listen.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I again, this perhaps is something that I need to do. You know, being the editor of Pandora, I need to shout out about things like this.
But it sounds like you've got quite a lot to shout out about, because you talked about there being quite an eclectic mix of strips. Yeah. So I don't want to use the something for everyone, but I dare say you could sort of, again, sort of target your any advertising you're still going to do to these different markets, because I know we whizzed through some of the artwork. Hopefully Sam will go through it again at a slower pace when we talk through it later. But even from what I saw, it seems to be a good wide spread of different strips.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of like with my background in art and illustration, I really wanted to showcase a different art, because I've got people like Gary Burley, who is this absolute savant when it comes to drawing. His artwork looks like he's spent hours etching, but it's all pen and ink, and it's like, how that's the kind of artwork I aspire to. I absolutely love that. So we've got him on a beautiful, poignant little script by Anna Averts, who's written for the 77 and is a fantastic writer in their own right. They are really aspiring. So I've got that. I've got Anna's fantastic space sort of odyssey with Star Nav. I've got Andy on Penny Pentagram. I was so thrilled when David Thomas agreed to come over to Pandora, because Penny Pentagram had been one of my favourite strips in the 77. We've also got an up-and-coming artist called Lola Bonato, who's still at uni.
Right, well, that's good.
Yeah, whilst they're young.
Yeah,
tie them down early.
I'm telling you something. When I checked their Instagram out, I was just blown away, because it was like, wow, you know, they're still at uni. They are, you know, producing this artwork, which is lovely, really lovely. But they also like the horror slant, so they are creating a zombie script with a writer from America, Jamal Luckett. There are some illustrations that Sam will show later. So yeah, I would describe their style as sort of, if it's a term, Euro manga. So very, very Japanese influenced, manga influenced, but more with a European slant as well. So
yeah. I think there's a few artists of that. Any listeners, any viewers, I think they'll be able to picture that kind of hybrid. That's certainly rising in a lot of the DC stuff and Image stuff. I see that kind of style of Euro manga artwork.
Yeah, definitely.
And Anna, what are your influences as an artist? Where do you draw sort of your inspiration from?
Oh, the diverse set of things, you know. Honestly, it's very hard to like kind of say there was something very particular, but now actually, when I think about it, I think maybe you guys heard of Sky Doll. This is a graphic novel created by Italian artists Barbara Canepa, Alessandro Barbucci. They're pretty well known, and their background is essentially, they started in the Disney. So they used to be the official kind of Disney artist on Disney publications. And they were the artist to whose comics I was kind of exposed to when I was growing up. So I remember buying their art. And at the time, actually, I never knew it was them, because it was a licensed gig, and the artists were not always credited. But I remember the style very distinctively. So it's very kind of Disney, but at the same time, it's got this like very unique touch to it. It's very flowy. It's very sophisticated, I would say. Right. So I remember that style very well. But then,
what was the title? What was the name of the comic?
Skydoll. The new one. That
right.
Yeah. So I found it later, like years later, and then when I started actually digging up information on the artists who did that graphic novel, I realized that those were actually the people I used to read when I was growing up. They were actually artists on, if you guys remember, there used to be like the Witch series by Disney. They even made it into animation. Yeah. It was before Wings, so it was predecessor of Wings. So it was like very much like kind of like girls were very much into this stuff. It was like post Sailor Moon, but pre-Wings era. Let's put it this way. So I just that book, that Skydoll graphic novel, was in my kind of collection for a while. And when I saw the script by Alan Hebden, I thought, because you see, like I really like experimenting with different styles. So if there is something realistic in my portfolio, especially for 2000 AD, I tend to work in this more kind of contrasty black and white style. And then I thought, oh, this can be a great opportunity to kind of try something a little bit different. And I would say that Skydoll was kind of the starting point as an inspiration. But I obviously did it kind of the way I could, put the best effort. So yeah, you can tell that this is like there may be some influence there. But this was the book that kind of inspired me in a way, because it's a space odyssey as well. And I thought that if we're talking space operas and space odysseys, maybe this is something that can become the starting point as a research, and just look in the film, not so much actually copying the art style, but trying to bring this feel of it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it actually when I look at your work, and we'll look at your work shortly, and I can see that there's a little bit of an influence there, but you've obviously brought your own thing very much to it.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I've never really tried like copy other artists, even when I was like learning. I look at things, I remember them, but I always try to do my very own thing with it. And
that's
hope
the important thing, isn't it? Because there's so many artists out there. I mean, I remember in the 90s, everybody tried to draw like Jim Lee, and they weren't doing their own thing,
weren't they?
Yeah, they were forced to a lot of the time, and it just sort of homogenizes all the comics. But when you've got your own, when you've got your own influences, you want to bring them in. If you're passionate about a certain way of drawing or a certain style, it's important that I think that you can express how you want to express stories, not be tied to a specific style. That's a really nice page, actually. Yeah,
so this is like the type of work you would see in this graphic novels. Like, and I'll be honest, I've not read the entire series because it's quite, it's got quite a few installments. But,
it's a bit of an epic, is it?
Yes, it is. Like I read some of it, and then I ordered one book for the collection because they used to be pretty expensive at the time, and I was a student, and you just like it's only one you can afford. But yeah, I really hope that that the readers will enjoy the result, and I did my best in the times given, and I'm very much excited to continue and even take the next episodes even further. So
cool. Well, just as we were going to bring some artwork on, Sam's lost his internet, so we'll just go to the comments for a second. We had a couple of comments in. So from Dave Heeley, get in, sis, you're killing it. There you go. Encouragement. Thanks for that, Dave.
Cheers,
it's always nice to have some encouragement, isn't it, Jo?
At least I know somebody's watching.
There you go. We've got a lot of views tonight, actually. From Lawrence Allison, thanks for the Hedrick shout out. I'm looking forward to Pandora. It looks terrific because Lawrence is obviously our writer on Hedrick. who's done a great job. Anna's work looks amazing. Reminds me of Terry Dodson.
Whoa,
that's
that's
interesting.
high
I'll take it as a
praise.
huge compliment.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That is nice. I mean, I
Now
can
we're
see
all
what he
keen to
means.
see the artwork.
Yeah.
We're on Sam's internet to start working.
Yeah, come on,
again.
Sam, get that internet working again.
Bloody hillbilly.
But I can sort of see what he means. Actually, there's a some smoothness to your inking, fluidity, that is reminiscent of Dodson. Actually,
Thank you. Like I really appreciate it. Like sometimes because every time, like when I draw, I'm always very critical of it, and it's very hard for me to like look back at my work and assess it in any way. And then it's very refreshing when other people, like readers, they look at it and they go like, "Oh, that reminds me of Ian Gibson," and you're like, "Wow." Well, if that's the comparison, then I hope I did something right. So thank you. I very much appreciate when people say nice things, and
that is nice.
And I myself very much looking forward to this publication. I'm so excited to see it fully because I looked at all the previews and it looks amazing. I just can't wait to read the stories. So,
yeah, same here.
Yeah.
And of course, you mentioned Ian Gibson there, 2000 AD artist. Of course, you've done some work with 2000 AD, haven't you, Anna?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
What stories have you done?
Well, I've done a Future Shock. I've done a couple of Terror Tales. Both of them were actually with John Tomlinson,
right?
who's a former Thark, and used to do work for Marvel UK. And I love his scripts. They are just, I love every script I've worked on, and every writer brings something different and something very unique. But John's were like quite horroring, convoluted, and it's really something to get your teeth into, and experiment as well and do something visually really, really challenging, especially the last Terror Tale we did together. It was a whole story was essentially in one apartment. So it's like a female character, she's in her apartment and there's some drama with tech and it was very interesting, just like to have the entire story set in one environment. Loved it. I did a Black Museum with David Bailey. I did Viva Forever with David Bailey as well. And Viva Forever was very much different to Black Museum. Again, I was trying to try something new. I did Judge Anderson for the sci-fi special with Maura McHugh. So that's on the list. And now we've got an upcoming story in the Regent with David Barnett, who is quite new to the scene, but he's already done some interesting stuff. Yeah,
he's a good guy, Dave. He's a novelist as well, and I know he did work for Black Crown when Shelley Bond launched that through IDW with Martin Simmons. Punk's Not Dead, and I know David segued into doing a bit of work on 2000 AD. Great writer, Dave, and a great person as well.
Well, as soon as Sam's back, there is a little snippet of Anna's art.
Yes, I'm itching to show it. I'm just looking in the studio, waiting for Sam to come back. It's like, come on, Sam, please come back. We want to see this art.
Did you find Anna's art in 2000 AD, or was it more of a talent search to get people involved with Pandora? What was the process?
I knew of Anna.
Right.
I was very kindly passed Anna's email, and I think Ben may have already approached Anna, and then I sent her Alan's script. Just that I call him what shall I call him? My fairy action man godfather, Steve McManus. My fairy fog godfather.
Fairy Tharg works. I like Fairy Tharg.
I like
There's
that.
a bit of alliteration to that.
Yeah, but certainly he was instrumental in getting me that sort of his intervention gave me the introduction to Alan and Alan's scripts, and the ones that I read, Starnav really sort of like struck a chord. That was the one I wanted, and then luck would have it, Ben passed Anna's contact details, and it was like got to get got to get Anna on this, and thankfully, you know, I'm, you know, like I say, something was looking down on me that day. It seriously was, and the result is Starnav, and the artwork really, you know, it's beautiful.
So what's the I'll ask another question. What's the concept of Starnav? Just so for those who, well, for all of us who don't know.
So the concept is Stella Sunbright is a star navigator, and one of the things that I'm really fascinated by is the concept of life ships, and sort of interstellar travel. But Stella, I'll get this right, put the teeth in. Stella Sunbright is a star navigator, and without these star navigators, humanity is at risk because they cannot travel, they cannot go past the speed of light and, you know, travel into deep space. And she's one of the last of her kind. And so therefore she's very much wanted. So by, you know, by crooks, by pirates. There's a beautiful space pirates scene. I've given a bit away there, but Anna's idea of space pirates was just like, God, this is amazing. So yeah, it's Stella is the protagonist, and it's a young girl who is, like I say, the last of her kind. And that was one of the things with the theme of Pandora. As strapline is, it's a comic born out of a pandemic. So there are some themes, and without wanting to sound emotional or anything, I refer back to the fact that it's a thoughtful comic. There are themes of loss, there are themes of change, there are themes of transformation throughout the comic. So yeah, it really struck a chord. Like I said, that this person was the last of their kind, and it's their travails and the way they go about things, you know.
And I guess you've got obviously lots of stories here. So does that thread run through all the other stories as well? Do you, I mean, how do you work that in with all the different writers and the different artists?
If I'm quite honest, just pure luck, really. Pure luck, and also knowing the writers, approaching people. I'll be honest with you, we held an open submissions call, but a lot of the stories were not quite what I was looking for at that time.
Right.
So
and did you get like whole stories sent to you, or was it just scripts or just ideas? Because it's hard, isn't it, sometimes when you get a lot of stuff sent to you. I mean, I know when we've done when we did Dead by Dawn, we had stuff just sent to us, but it's good sometimes if you can control it a little bit, like with it just by inviting people. Absolutely, you do get all sorts sent to you. I mean, did you get stuff sent to you in all different stages?
Yeah, absolutely. I should just say there was one success, and that is our story called Home, and that's written by a chap called Rob McDonald and illustrated by Ade Hughes. Now, Ade is an artist on Space Warp. He's also an artist on the 77. And when I read that story, I immediately thought of Ade because of his, dare I say it, because of his Celtic background. He will laugh, no doubt at that, but because he's based in Wales and he loves Wales, and the story is set in Wales. Cool. So that was a success. It was one of that came to me as a synopsis. Really affected me emotionally, and I think when you get a story like that, when just a few sentences, that you need to really investigate and progress that person on, because if a few sentences can cause you to, you know, literally break into tears, then you know what on earth are they going to give you? So that was a success. But as far as everything else, it was a mixed bag. It was some full scripts. people obviously been sitting on them for some time. A lot of it was just synopses. But dare I say, Andy was one of my successes as well. So that call out.
But the call out did go out before we'd created what Pandora was going to be.
Right.
Almost like
it
was going to be this sort of female-led book. And I think that's a little bit obvious then, and now it's far more subtle. I mean, obviously, we've got a female Tharg, if you like. Very far.
Just paint me green.
Thargess? Is that
Tharg? I think Tharg, like Doctor Who, can be
yeah.
To be.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
But yeah, so we basically started to formulate it all, and it all started to fall into place. And then again, Ben basically just went, "We're going to go live with this." So we had to stop sort of just having fun, and then make sure and as the pages started coming in, but it's the sort of thing I had with Blazer. We were all the stuff I had was amazing, and then Dan Cornell sent his pages in, and we're like, "Oh." We were all like, "Yay!" And it's like,
there's your opener.
Who let the droids in?
The Tharg, surely.
Yeah, Tharg themselves. But it's all. I mean, it's all stands, head and shoulders above what it should be. We're creating this from love. We create it. It's, as she said, it's this like fluke. It's the way that everything just sort of fits in. And then because I did Penny Pentagram in the 77 annual, and we weren't quite sure where it was going to go, and then we got asked to come to Pandora. So Penny is the sort of the tank girl, if you like, of Pandora.
And how did they feel about you poaching her from 77?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think it was with some sort of hesitancy, but they realised we have so many excellent stories that there's Penny. I see Penny as my sort of pin-up girl for Pandora. But there are so many stories we've got to get out there for the 77 that it almost made sense that Penny could be sort of the torchbearer for Pandora. That's Lola, the artist on If You Just Listen, and Jamal, the writer, and that's our zombie story. Now, I'm just digressing here, but that story, when it came to us, Jamal entered a short story competition for the 77 that you could get your comic strip in the 77 annual #1.
Got you.
Jamal was a firm favourite, but just missed out. So I remembered this and I approached him, and I was like, I really want the story and the protagonist behind this is so different to what we've seen so far in comics, particularly with the zombie,
because look, so there's so many things have been done with zombies, haven't there? I mean, it must be quite a challenge to do, to have something different.
So there's Anna's pencils for the variant.
Slow down, Sam. We won't have a look at this. I need to see.
Always going quick. So
let's go back. Let's have a look at this. That's lovely.
Really so nice. Next. Oh, okay. There's Anna.
Is Sam in control? What's he doing?
I don't know what he's doing.
Come on, Sam, get a grip.
So we've got Anna and Gary. They've worked on this story, Weep for Me.
Yeah.
What's that story
about? The story behind that is it's a very contemporary take on the Irish Banshee myth. Again, it's a story about change, and it's got a little twist in the tale, a little bit poignant. But you can see what meant about Gary's etching style.
Oh wow, yeah, there's a lot gone into
Definitely.
that.
You can see it in the definitely, especially in the leaves above the head of the banshee.
Absolutely.
Interesting idea to do the monochrome as well, just in the green. That's,
but it's a beautiful little story.
And there we are, Mr. Richmond himself.
The Double Trouble. David.
Only one of them has posed for their headshot, haven't they? Let's be honest.
Perfectly placed quiff. Yeah.
Just the hand stroke in the beard as well.
Absolutely.
So we've got Andrew Sawyers. He's illustrating my story, The Adventures of Albanito. It's a little bit left field. That's all I can.
It's got anyone who's a suicidal tendency fan is going to be left field.
Absolutely.
You've got the right artist for it then, definitely.
Yeah.
It's such a unique style that Andrew has. It's fantastic. I love his stuff. There we go.
There we go.
So, yeah.
Is that an alternative cover, is it?
That's a variant cover.
Lovely.
Is it behind Anna? I almost fell off the sofa last week when she showed it me.
Oh, well, let's do a full screen.
Oh, in colour.
Wow.
Well, there's more progress done on this. I actually was meant to have it by tonight, hopefully, but
well, you're doing this instead. You can blame it on us.
Yeah, it's our fault.
I think she's blaming Alan.
Right. Yeah, no, not blaming Alan. No, it's like a few things. Gosh, it was quite a few crazy days. And Alan came to the MD. There was like a picture of the Team Starnow. He came to visit, and it was a great chat. It was lovely meeting him. He brought some art with him done by Jesus Redondo.
Wow.
That was very lovely of him, and yeah, it was great. So honestly, the cover should be done this week. It's 95% done. There's like a couple of things I want to add to it. So yes.
Just to let folks know, the Kickstarter runs for another 2 weeks.
So anybody watching, there is time still to go and pledge for this fantastic anthology. Yeah, definitely.
So that means stretch goals are being opened up slowly but surely, doesn't it, Jo?
Yeah, we've just opened up one stretch goal. We've got some more to go in. So everybody who backs the Kickstarter at the moment will actually get a digital edition, a short story by David Thomas of Penny Pentagram. Cool. And it's a comic sort of caper set in a comic shop. So it's a haunted comic shop.
Oh, cool.
Brilliant. That sounds great.
Just to go back to what Anna said about Jesus Redondo, I gather that he's actually seen Anna's artwork for Starnow. And I'll leave it to you, Anna, how he got to see your artwork and his reaction as well.
No, it was just surreal because I just received an email from Alan one day, and he was like, I spoke to Jesus, I showed him the pages, and this is what he's got to say. And that was like out of the body experience, because I'm very much familiar with his artwork, and honestly, it's very intimidating. And like artist of that era, that's something beyond my understanding. And yeah, Redondo was like, oh, I love this. I understand it's happening in some very kind of female-dominated universe, doesn't it? He was very happy with what he saw, and he said that he can wait for it to be published, and he was very complimentary of the strip. So that meant the world to me. That was like, that's it. And interestingly, it actually came in this time, like sometimes you just feel very down, and like I don't know, like if I'm doing everything right. I don't know if it's the right thing I'm drawing or not. And to receive that email was just like, sometimes you wonder how these things happen, how it all works out eventually. It was very lovely of Alan to forward this on. So
that's a great story. I mean, it is, isn't it? I mean, when you're working in isolation on something and you're doing, it's amazing what a positive comment from somebody whose work you admire as well can just give you that boost you need. There we are,
Yeah.
some lovely pages.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sam.
It's interesting. It's interesting because the more you talk to people in the industry, artists especially, it's very like strange environment to be in, and because you're always in your headspace and you look at artwork for too long. And this is actually meant to be like, it's an entertainment media. You know, people want to read it quickly and get on with their lives. You know, this is just like a little bit of escapism, but at which you stare for weeks, if not months, sometimes. So you speak to artists and most of them are like, oh, I'm overcritical, you know, like some people struggle to look at their old work, so it's very common. And honestly, when you hear these words of like appreciation, when actually people want to read the content you made, when people look at it, it's incredible. You know, it's exactly what Joe's been saying at the very start. It's like I'm like extremely grateful to people for the support we got for this project. That it's incredible that people are happy to view it, people are happy to read it, people are pledging for it. It means a lot. It really does.
There's some great dynamic poses there. They're really nice.
I was just thinking all, you know, the different perspective shots.
And the backgrounds, lovely backgrounds, really nice detail. I'm a sucker for good backgrounds, you know. Like most people don't go for that, do they? But I love a well-drawn background.
No, you've got to have a good background. You can't be Rob Liefeld just doing figure drawings all the time.
Yeah, without any feet. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the pages.
For this campaign, are we gonna be seeing some nice little extras, some Andrew Richmond sketches, and perhaps
there's still a few left, aren't there? I think it's one of Anna's as well left, or a couple of Anna's.
Cool.
A couple of mine.
I mean, that's the thing that grabs a lot of people, isn't it? You know, the chance to own, you know, a nice original sketch or a nice original piece of artwork.
Well, at the very top of the show, Rob commented saying he's got slow internet, but he's a massive art collector, and he backs a lot of the Kickstarters. I think he's got one of Anna's drawings on his list.
Has he?
He's backed, yeah.
There he is, yeah. Robert, yeah, I know Rob, yeah.
There we go. Sam's got the Kickstarter page up again, so we can have a look.
Yeah, so
what's what again?
161 people. That's just you know, mind blowing. Yeah, absolutely.
And 14 days to go as well. So
yeah.
We keep on saying, Joe, every time we look at Kickstarters, you know, from sort of indie crowd or whatever, it seems to be the way people are going. You know, it goes back to that thing we were joking about with the heating. People have only got a finite amount of money nowadays. I think I'm at that stage where I'd rather back projects I know I'm going to love than just go out and buy a load of comics every week, all week from the big companies. There's a lot more opportunity with all the different, you know, the Kickstarters, the Indiegogos, the Zooms, lots of different platforms to get your name out there, get your voice out there.
Oh, absolutely.
You will draw these, you know, effectively niche fans, and hopefully, like you've done with Pandora, get new people into comics, new people into reading, and they might then springboard onto the next thing any of the creatives on that comic can do. I'm certainly going to, I mean, I'm a lapse read of 2000 AD, but I'm certainly going to keep an eye out for Anna's work in 2000 AD and, you know, and it when it comes up again. So I think it's a great opportunity to help people maybe get a different audience beyond 2000 AD.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And one thing with the pandemic, because obviously Pandora, the name is it sort of comes from that. The one thing from it's leveled up the playing field somewhat.
Yeah, it has.
If you want to put out a comic, you know full well 50 grand isn't going to cover the majority of it. And I'm so grateful to the creators because this isn't big money. A comic on Kickstarter, unless you are, I don't know, really look at Keanu Reeves with that Berserker.
Yeah.
The other end of the scale, isn't it?
You know, it's something like that. You're not going to be.
He needs all the help he can get. That Keanu Reeves.
Absolutely. Yeah,
his fuel bill's going up as well.
but yeah, it's it's a fantastic way to get, like you say, that mix of established creators and also people who've never written comics before. I referenced Rob McDonald and Ade Hughes's comic strip, which is called Home. Rob, this was his first comic strip that he, submitted
cool.
and will be getting out there. And Ade's work on it so far is just, amazing. Ade's one of my favourite artists.
Yeah, he's good, isn't he?
But like I say, it's leveled up the playing field. It's allowed people to do things which they might not have been able to do before. Because, like I say, unless you've got that backing of, a couple of really big people behind you, you aren't going to get those projects out there. Just to let you know, one of the pieces of work I sent through to Sam earlier is a story that should have appeared in issue 1, this particular issue, but unfortunately our artist Peter Weston, you might know of him from working on Blazer, and also he's a fantastic artist in his own right, but his father is Mike Weston as well.
Yes.
But he injured his hand and was unable to complete the illustrations for The Devil's Bride, and that will be appearing in issue 2. Now, that goes to show that we are actually looking ahead for the future. This isn't just a one-shot. We are looking ahead, and there will be issue 2. I know full well Alan has the scripts 2 and 3 for Starnap as well. So,
well, we've had a question actually from Matthew Ellis. Question for Jo: with Pandora, are the strips all self-contained, or do they have cliffhangers or next issue boxes?
Hiya, Matthew. I think, off the top of my head, now you've got to, you're making me think.
We've
now.
got self-contained stories.
There are a mix of self-contained. There are a mix of recurring.
That's cool.
But just to say, with Penny Pentagram, each story of that is self-contained. So we've got lots of Penny Pentagram stories. Dave Thomas, he's a fantastic writer. Got to say, I don't want him poached or anything, but he's brilliant. Love his.
I've got to be careful on you sometimes in the indie world, haven't you? People will poach someone if they're really good,
Absolutely, and then it'll be like, see ya. But no.
The thing is, there's a lot of these guys that you see them in different comics all over the place, because they are good, but they're also very prolific sometimes. And
absolutely,
you see them in lots of different comics, doing lots of different things, and that's what I love about the indie world. Actually, is that if you've got a creator that you love, you can just follow them through all these different books. And I find it really exciting on Kickstarter, just to trawl through it, just looking at all these different creators, brand new creators that we've never seen before. Doing amazing work. There we go. Thanks, Sam.
So that's Peter Weston, and
I like that.
Isn't it beautiful? There's two versions, and it's a revenge story. So it's set in 1877, and the Devil's Bride is going out to avenge her mother, her lover, and everybody around her. And as you can see,
that's very cool, right? From the typeface to the design to the dot matrix colouring, it's that's cool. That is.
It's a full package, isn't it? It's a really
that's our back cover poster pinup.
Is it right? Yeah.
Currently our back cover.
Very nice. And is there an option, Andy, to get prints of these images on the Kickstarter, or will there be?
Well, this is it. I mean, we're hoping when we go live, so we're going to live. When we go to Lawless, we're going to have lots of exclusive prints and bits and pieces around. I mean, the short story that David's written of Penny Pentagram, I've designed it, so it's a tiny little booklet.
Right.
But that's something we want to do in real life, and that will probably be when we get to conventions, if we're not all wiped out with.
But just a quick shout out, anybody who's going to Lawless, Anna will be there. So anybody who's going to back and buy Pandora, you'll be able to take it along to Lawless, get it signed by Anna, get it signed by Alan.
Fantastic. That's great. We're going to have Sue on, actually. We're going to be doing a show for Lawless on here. And we're going to, find out everything that's going on there. It looks like a really, really good show.
Oh,
it's a well-established con, isn't it, Lawless?
Yeah. And you guys are perfect for it.
We're hoping to do live stuff at Lawless as well.
That'll be cool. I think with 2000 AD having just done an online convention, I think there's a lot of thirst for it. And I know it's an unauthorized 2000 AD convention, but I think there's a lot of thirst for people to not only just go back out there, but start talking to the creators again. So that's a good call being at Lawless.
Well, she's branched out, hasn't she? Sue has. So it's now a British comic.
Yes, all British comics, not just TFI. Yeah.
We got Lou Stringer there.
Yeah.
Just to throw out, the 77 is a sponsor of Lawless as well.
Right.
That's
great
why.
stuff.
Now I know who to ask me press pass to then.
That's great. That is. It's great to see indie publishers working with indie convention.
Yeah.
We've all got to help each other out, haven't we? It's great to see that. It's great to see you guys working with Sue on the show, and and her promoting you and being on shows like this. It's because I know you guys have done the rounds, haven't you? You've been on a couple of podcasts promoting the show.
Do you know, I may have said this backstage, as it were, but this is totally out of my comfort zone. I don't do public speaking, but certainly you guys have made me feel really welcome. And hopefully listeners and viewers have sort of enjoyed what we've brought to the Icecast.
Well, I would say so, because we've had a lot of listeners. For us, it's been a good listenership. Viewership, should I say?
Listenership.
Yeah, I know. I'm showing my age, aren't I? Throughout,
like pop pickers.
yeah.
Well, the other week we did an American radio show, didn't we, Joe? That was
Wow, really?
What do the Americans make of it then? Because it's got a very British flavour, hasn't it?
I absolutely love it.
Great stuff.
They love anything British.
It's the Hoover file thing, isn't it? The Doctor Who prisoner.
Yeah.
And you're all eloquent enough that they understand your accents as well. They put me in shame on, they'd be going, pardon.
Well, my accent is it was like Andy said, the fact that we were going out to all 52 states, or it is 52, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or is it? I don't know.
No, it's 51 if you include Great Britain as one of those states. That's an 80s thing to say.
What was it? Heartland, wasn't it, the song? Yeah.
But it just made me chuckle, because the idea that there's me with my yum accent, doing all right, to all these Americans. But no, they apparently love it, and they absolutely love the 77 as well.
Fantastic.
So
I probably thought you were a Peaky Blinder, Joe. That's what it was.
Well, funny you should say that. The story I write for the 77, because it's set in Birmingham in the Black Country. The lads, Steve Bull in particular, shout out to the 77, by the way. There's two Daves, Ben
there
and
he is.
There he is now.
And Brendan as well. Brendan Wright is fantastic. But Bully, Dave. But Bully always calls my script, what is it, Goblin Blinders or Peaky Goblins, and so it's always stuck. Yeah,
you stuck with that one. We'll have to get you along to the to Birmingham Ice, because you'll be at home there.
I'm hoping to be able to come up.
Just get the number 11.
Yeah, I live on the south coast now, so God willing, I should be up actually.
That'd be lovely. That'd be lovely to welcome you back.
Yeah, absolutely. I gather it's at Edgbaston, isn't it?
It is. It's at Edgbaston Stadium.
Walking distance for me, Shay. Walking distance
he's all
there,
right.
stumbling distance back.
Very close to Ollie. We've got a couple more comments. Going back to Skydoll. Mighty Johnny, I've got Skydoll. Really like how do you say that? Barbucci?
Barbucci.
Barbucci. Barbucci's art. I think he was influenced by Frazetta, who's
making you work tonight, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, isn't he? Whose works are great. Frazetta also influenced Joe Maggiore. Yeah. I mean, actually, Joe Maggiore, that's another sort of influence I can sort of see in your work, Anna. Would that be somebody whose work that you were aware of?
I wasn't aware. No, I'll have to look it up, to be honest with you.
Battle Chasers is the big
I'm familiar with Frazetta, obviously, but the last name, I need to look it up.
He was very much a sort of 90s guy who then segued into computer designing. Never finished his series Battle Chasers.
No, he didn't, did he? I was very disappointed.
That's his iconic comic, Battle Chasers.
Yeah.
So I dare say you could find that in print somewhere.
Yeah, and he did some great X-Men stuff as well. He had a
massive
run on
that's
X-Men
true. He came back to do an Ultimates run as well, didn't he?
Yeah, and he did that lovely Deadpool series with one of our previous guests.
Yeah, now his is like a manga Euro style, I would imagine. Yeah, that's a perfect example.
Yeah, so check it out, Anna. You might
definitely will.
Yeah,
I think you'll like his work.
Yeah, the more you live, the more you learn. The more exposed you are to. I'll say this.
Thanks,
it's
Rob.
It's an interesting thing, right, with art and influences. I've been saying this for quite some time now. Sometimes people get quite caught up in the things that they like, trying to imitate. Like for example, you've got like your favorite artist, and you go like, "Oh, I want to be like that," and you try to like kind of get as closely as possible to this particular style. But I personally find it very helpful, very actually refreshing and inspirational to look at stuff that you wouldn't normally pick up. It's not the thing that would catch your eyes first, let's put it this way. But by looking in this completely different direction, something completely not trendy, something completely maybe forgotten, like go through archives, go through some crazy stuff, and it gives you like solutions. It like really opens you up to different approaches that you don't really see when you're too caught up in your usual influences.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think because a lot of people also, I mean, you could generalize there and say a lot of people just look at comic artists for their influence. They don't look elsewhere. They don't look at other forms of art. It doesn't have to even be 2D art. You can be influenced by movies, by music, by sculpture. And lots of different types of illustration, and some artists, their only influences tend to be comics. And I think they're missing out on a whole world of art.
That is very, very true. And it's interesting because I've met like some amazing concept artists as well, like people who work on like incredible projects as well. It's privileged to speak to them, and they go like, they dig out these like crazy references. It can be sculpture, it can be like fine art. And they're like the most talented people I've met. They always in this like search of the most unobvious things, if you will. I remember like I first got this kind of feeling when I picked up Nemesis in the corner shop next to my part-time job. There was like this corner shop would sometimes stock like a really random selection of comics. I don't know where they get it from. So it would be like Harley Quinn or like Nemesis collection, just
that is odd.
random.
I mean, to see Nemesis now in a corner shop, that's quite fine.
I was like, oh, that looks good. And normally I would be more into kind of more like American type of comics, or like Harley Quinn is something that I would always pick up regardless, just like grab it and maybe not even read it, but look at the illustrations. But Nemesis, I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a try. And when I first opened it, it was like Kevin O'Neill stuff, and it's not your conventional American comics.
It really isn't.
But
not your conventional artist.
I know, but it was such a good read. Because like how he approached the environment and how the artwork actually really matched the story and the depth it gave to the story, that was like mind-blowing. I was like, that's wonderful. I should be looking into these things more,
Well, someone
he's
like
the
Kev
H.R.
O'Neill,
Geiger of the comic book world, isn't he?
Yeah,
And
I mean, he's
some.
unique, isn't he, Kev O'Neill? There's no one like him.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's interesting. This is what I particularly like about British comics. It's the fact that in 2000 in other publications, it's like creators are they can always bring this very unique voice with them, like Ian Gibson, for example. This is something like mind blowing, because
Mick McMahon,
I love him. Mick McMahon, Basically,
and the mighty Gary Leach that we lost this week.
Actually,
yeah, definitely. I mean, I mean, we shouldn't go through the show actually without just mentioning Gary. Yeah. I'm sure you're all aware of his work. An absolute master of the art form. Somebody who actually influenced me a lot. And I'm sure you as well, Andy, as an artist. I mean, he was.
With Gary, his stuff was almost so unattainable. I mean, that first Marvel Man.
Yeah.
Geez. I mean, you can look at that over and over again.
Beautiful.
Absolutely
beautiful.
exquisite.
It's ageless artwork,
isn't it? Yeah. Absolutely stunning. Yeah. It's a lovely stuff. And it was such a good read as well. I mean, it's such a great synergy of story and art. I mean, there's been nothing like it since, to be honest. And it's certainly. And
when he's been Mike Moran is dragged through and he sees the word atomic backwards, doesn't he, in the window?
Oh yeah.
Komoter.
Oh, it's just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Warrior. What a great book that was. And as you were saying, Anna, you're saying about when you find someone like that sort of it opens your eyes to new possibilities. I mean, 2000 AD, I think, is full of artists like that. We were quite spoiled, weren't we?
I think so, yeah. And it's interesting. It's incredible. Like I'm still like due to like go through so much of like so much legacy that is of 2000 AD, because the more you dig in, the more caught up you get, and you're like, this is incredible, and this is the type
Beautiful.
of approaches you wouldn't really think of, like how experimental people are with the medium, how creative people were in their storytelling, and the language is so different and incredible. It just fascinates me,
Yeah.
And
we've all got that in common, I think, on this show.
I know. And what's interesting? It's like it works both in black and white. It works in color, and this painterly era of 2000 AD. Like I'm personally quite a fan of Dermot Power's work as well. I think what he was doing it's got this. It's edgy, but it's also very, very controlled, and it's incredible. Even when there was like a certain trend with how artists were approaching things at the time, everybody was able to bring their very own unique voice to it. It's kind of hard to say, like, house style of 2000 AD. Is there a house style, or is it like house?
I don't think it
house
is.
Freedom?
I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
I think that is the beauty of it. There is no
punky
style
of the 70s it grew out of.
Yeah, I think the only thing you could say, I mean, you're looking at this stuff here from Gary, is that 2000 AD is powerful. That is the only sort of thing I would say that goes across, all of these artists, is it's about having a powerful style that comes off the page, because that's what you had to do back then to sell your comics. You couldn't hang about, you couldn't mess about. You had to know what you were doing. And Gary was obviously a massive, example of that. And then you've got people like Dave Gibbons, as I said before, Mick McMahon, these individuals who had styles like nobody else. And it's really nice to see it continuing in books like 77, Pandora. We're seeing that legacy continued, which is fantastic, and and it's not the same. And that's the great thing. It's not just regurgitating.
Yeah, no house style.
Yeah, it's not just.
I think that's the great tradition of anthologies in Britain, isn't it?
Yeah.
It showcases
that
so many.
Tempe, mix.
Yeah,
I like that.
I'm going to have to shoot off in a sec, but let me just say, you're saying about the house style. Ron Smith drew Judge Dredd in the newspaper strips.
Yeah.
And he was like the face of 2000 AD to the mainstream. You know, and fans may or may not like him. If you look back at it now, that stuff's fantastic. I think it was in the Daily Star, and it was serialized.
Yeah.
And you're right. A lot of people, that was all they knew. Was that style?
That was Judge Dredd. That was the house style.
But he was quick, I suppose. That's why he was the chosen artist for.
And he's very solid. I thought Ron Smith was solid. You
Absolutely,
know? A really good storyteller.
It looked a little bit dated, didn't it, when he tried to draw punks and still exquisitely drawn.
Hey, there's some good artists out there that draw punks like that, even to this day. So what's a punk?
So as Andy said, it is time to wrap up the show.
Man.
Guys. We've done well over the hour, but it's just been such fun just talking to you guys. It really has. Thank you so much for coming on. There we go.
Yeah, keep watching this. As we say, there's still 2 weeks to go.
Yeah.
And as the question was, it is a mixture. All the stories you will reach an end, in this. It's not like to be continued. It's all going to be wrapped up in that issue, but then issue 2 will be coming, then issue 3, issue 4.
But they will. Some of them exist in the same unit. Like you've got Penny Pentagram, so it might not be a continuing story, but you've got a continuing universe, if you like.
Yeah. I mean,
definitely.
I think David Thomas has said he's got another 20 Penny stories already ready.
Fantastic.
Going to keep you going until.
Yeah.
Going to keep you busy, Andy.
Yeah.
Not that you're not busy enough already, I'm sure.
Not that I'm not busy enough. I was showing Joe this earlier. I did this over the last month. I've done
over the last month.
Yeah.
Wow. Lovely sketch cards.
Is that one a day then, or something like that?
Including 77.
God. Anyone think he didn't have a kid?
Yeah, great.
It's a good variety of characters there as well, Andy.
Lawless.
Right. I'm really looking forward to Lawless now. I was looking forward to it anyway, but I'm looking forward to it even more now. It's going to be a great event, I think.
Yeah.
All right then, guys. I'm really looking forward to seeing you all at Lawless, and thank you so much for coming onto the show. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Joe. And thank you, Anna, for being our surprise guest tonight. It's been lovely to speak to you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. And thank you to Ollie, my co-host, for asking better questions.
Always a pleasure, never a chore.
So play us out, Sam, with that.